Whoops. It'll be all right.
And off.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to put the call-in number up toward the end of the show. It's going to be a full show today, guys. We might try, because I got it all set up. You know, we haven't done enough of it, but let's do this. Good morning.
I still think you need to, I mean, like, I get it. Haha, there's no timer, but there's only 3 minutes left in the clip, so it has to still just do a timer. Like, it's.
I invite you to set that up.
How hard is it to set up a timer? Maybe I don't know.
You don't. I invite you to try.
It can't be that hard. Alex set one up.
So the thing with a timer is basically you're setting it up, and then you're committing to the audience will wait exactly this amount of time before we hit the button. I will start at this time. You know, once I start the countdown timer, then you're committed to the amount of time that's there. This way, you know, if something's hinky with the kit and we have to make a quick technical adjustment, I can let the timer keep playing for a few minutes, and we say, sorry guys, live is hard mode, right? Or we don't have to let the timer run. We could just say, you know what? That's enough. Let's do this. So the technical side of the timer, it's just a video. The practical, functional side of the timer is a constriction.
I didn't think I was going to throw you for that big of a loop there. Why don't we say
Good morning.
Why don't we say good morning to some people and get rolling?
And hey, Danny, Pitt Danny is in the chat with First Blood this morning. Rock and roll. Cameron and I were just talking about the grassroots rally that's on October 2nd from 1 to 6 at Legion Field in Covington. I'm planning on being there, and I have heard we should have some interesting speakers that day. And I know that Pitt Danny, I think you have a little more insight into that if you care to mention it in the chat. And I totally understand if some of the bigger names are unconfirmed and we can't commit them just yet. But if you've got any more insight on that, I'd love to hear it. So this morning, we've got a couple of things to cover. It's going to be a pretty busy show. So good morning, everybody. We love you, and we'll say good morning to you by name again later. Let's do this.
Where are we going to start? There's so much.
God, it is
Woke Wednesday.
You know, it's the first thing on the thing, and we'll get back to the second thing that's on the thumbnail. So let's start with Biden.
Look, pal.
Listen, Fat.
Corn Pop was a
Corn
bad
Pop
dude.
was bad,
I no
dude.
more think of myself than a fly.
Oh
God. I felt dirty watching the clips come out of this.
And here's the thing. I've only watched a few clips come out of this, and I watched the Tim Pool treatment of this, and they went into some of the technical stuff. I absolutely recommend y'all go check that out. Y'all go check out Tim Pool and the gang talking about the 60 Minutes interview, because one of the things they point out, it's a very technical thing that's much easier to understand if you actually do video work, most especially the post-production editing work. More than half of the shoot usually ends up on the cutting room floor. The KGB interview, the former KGB agent Jack Barsky, the interview I did with him a couple weeks ago, I shot 3 hours times 3 cameras, and the final product is about an hour and 20 minutes, I think.
It's about 90 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that's totally normal.
Right.
In fact, that's good video.
Exactly. Because, you go through, and one of the first thing you do is you're like, okay, well, we spent 15 minutes talking about our kids, and it was really awesome for us. We enjoyed that conversation together, and there might even be something there that a person might enjoy, but it's not relevant to the broader topics that we're discussing about military intelligence, global politics.
Yeah, what they want is to see us talk about Ukraine.
Right. So we dump that on the floor, and then there's, because he and I were both in the industry, there's stuff that we talked about that I can never publish. In fact, had to destroy afterward. And then you go through and you cut out all the ums and buts as much as you can without it feeling too unnatural. And, Jack's old. He had a coughing fit at about the 1.5 hour mark, and got up to go, get a drink of water, and
right.
All that shit ends up on the cutting room floor. So there's a trick you do when you're cutting between 2 shots. Like, one of the things about the live mode here, if I have a coughing fit on camera, sorry guys, y'all are getting that because we live, and live is hard mode. But when you're cutting and you have 2 or 3 cameras to cut back and forth between, you can cut to the other guy. Oh, we want to show you his emotional reaction to what the speaker is saying. And sometimes that's true. That is what you're doing. But often, especially when you're talking about something as politically loaded as this, what you're really doing is you're hiding. You don't want to see the jump cut where the person's speaking and then they appear to continue speaking, but suddenly they're, 6 inches to the left or right. You're hiding the video evidence that you've made a change to the audio record.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh talked about this a lot, about how he stopped doing these types of interviews because he'd go in and he'd have a 2.5 hour conversation with so-and-so. It'd get condensed down to about 30 minutes, and somehow they could magically make him say things. He didn't actually, the words came out of his mouth, but when they were reorganized in such a way, like suddenly he was saying shit that he never said. So all that to say, this is the best they could make Joe Biden look.
And people will ask me when I'm doing interviews, like Jack, he had that coughing fit, and he said, well, you can just edit that out later. I was like, oh, yeah. Make no mistake. I can make your wedding vows sound like a ransom note.
But this is anyhow, Joe Biden, the best they can make him look.
So, rare, lucid, and coherent moment for Biden on 60 Minutes. This is from New York Post.
No, but keep my schedule, pal. No more thinking myself the number than the fly.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but he didn't. And maybe it's a low bar to say he didn't seem senile in his exchanges with Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes, but he didn't. And that's not nothing for the guy, considering the way he seemed during the first half of this year, at least. Really? Really, John? You're going to tell me that old Joey did a good job here?
Well, he didn't train wreck the way that he's train wrecked in other things. Like, there were obviously moments where it started to get away from him. And then there were other things where, like, when he was lucid, like, man, he was serious about it too. He was like, yeah, but inflation only went up an inch.
Yeah.
Dude, it went up an inch from the fact that it's already gone up a mile. Like, you're not making the point you think you're making. Oh, if you're looking for clips, it's on my Twitter page.
Oh, okay. Thank God.
I made that easy.
Okay. Whew. I thought I was ready. I thought I had the clips pulled up with that. I thought that article had the clips in it.
Yeah,
but
no, clips.
It must have been a different article.
Got you, buddy. Like I'm.
Yeah. Thank God somebody's paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're gonna get to that one too.
Okay.
Oh, this is the inflation one. Yay. That'll be.
Oh, come on. Live is hard mode. Where's the audio?
Dived. People are. Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%.
What?
The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it's good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. Maybe I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that, but guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months it hasn't spiked. It has just barely. It's been basically even.
Mr. President.
It hasn't spiked for the last several months. It's just been basically even since the beginning of your administration, you doddering pants shitter.
Yeah, Chris, I only hit you 3 times today, but don't worry. I only hit you 3 times yesterday and 3 times the day before. And look, I could have hit you 4.
So I did my whole day yesterday, and I knew that I was ending my day at the doing the unnecessary show that I do every Tuesday in the evening. And right next door to the location where we do that show, there's a Quick Trip that always has gas at about 15 cents lower than whatever the lowest you come across most places is. I think it's on Atlanta Highway in Loganville. And so I was telling Cameron about this yesterday. I think I've got enough gas in the truck this morning as I'm leaving the house that I can wait to fill up when I get over there. And it's going to be like $2.95. It was $2.88, by the way.
Woo!
And my lizard brain feels stoked that I'm not paying $3.19 when it wasn't a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, $4.50 wasn't outrageous by local comparison. And that's in the state. I think we have the lowest average gas prices in the country here in Georgia, or close to it. Not the lowest, but close to the lowest. Because when we were paying $4.50, the national average was over $7. Right?
Oh, it wasn't
yes,
that
it
high.
was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that high.
Check.
It wasn't that high. You check.
No,
You're
you
the
check.
one throwing out the number. Either way, it was high.
You're the one calling bullshit. Prove it. Call me a liar. Bring evidence. But it was. We got over $7 national average.
Anyhow, your point.
And so I'm stoked that I'm going to fill the car up to at 288. And that's infuriating. I shouldn't feel like twice as much as it was just over a year and a half ago.
AAA. National average, 427.
Bullshit.
That's AAA.
That's the highest ever?
AAA.
Yeah, bullshit. But no, that's
California was, yes. Yes, California got up to 7, but national average, no. National was never over $7. Diesel may have been.
But you said 427 was the highest national average?
No, it said according to AAA, that the national average in July of 2022 was 427.
Anyway, I'll go back. I'll go back and look at that more.
Oh God, I didn't mean to derail you that hard. There was more stuff with Biden. I apologize.
We'll just Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Thank you, Bill O'Reilly.
We'll just do another Biden clip.
Wonder what you think.
Watch me.
Watch me.
I mean, honest to God, that's all I think. Watch me. If you think I don't have the energy level or the mental acuity, then that's one thing. It's another thing of just watch and keep my schedule. Do what I'm doing. I think that, I don't, when I sit down with our NATO allies and keep them together, I don't have them saying, wait a minute, how old are you? What did they say? It's a matter of, that old expression, the proof of the pudding's in the eating.
He is right. People are leaning forward to say, what are you saying?
Yes.
What are you saying?
As Pit Daddy points out, he says, watch me. And said, dude, people are questioning your mental acuity because they're watching.
Because we watch you say Batacalf care and true up and shoving the pressure. And
look, we word whisker.
My butt's been wiped.
We word whisker on this show and occasionally get facts wrong because, there's a lot of things to keep up with. And
apparently, I took a total shit on the national gas price average.
Yeah.
I don't buy that 427, but
you're quibbling. It just anyhow. But it's not only that, but if you keep going, this is when it's I no more think of the number than I think of a fly.
I mean, I respect the fact that people would say, you're old, but I think it relates to how much energy you have and whether or not the job you're doing is one consistent with what any person of any age would be able to do.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't. Look,
Oh, it's focused. I haven't. That right there. That right there.
This is elder abuse.
How would you say your mental focus is? Yeah, exactly. This is elder abuse.
Oh, it's focused.
Oh, it's focused. Now watch how focused, because the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
I haven't. Look,
don't talk
I
about
have
showering
trouble
with Ashley.
even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
What?
I mean, it's just not. I haven't
so old, he can't
observed
remember when he
anything
was
in terms
born.
of. There's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
I'd like to ask Jill if there's any credibility to that statement.
Yeah, it's yeah, anyhow.
So
yeah, that was apparently 60 Minutes had. Boy, that says something too. Dude, I had no clue that Joe Biden was going to do an extended interview on 60 Minutes until after it happened. So, I think that's a thing worth celebrating.
Honestly, based on the way the jump cuts, based on the number of jump cuts through the interview, I'm dubious as to whether or not he did an extended interview.
Well, he was there for an extended period of time. There are still certain things that are hard to fake. Maybe not for much longer. The deep fake technology's almost there, but there are still.
Well, it would be easy to fake what appears to be an extended interview with a controlled lighting in indoor environments where what might have originally been a 2-hour interview that would be cut down to 30 or 40 minutes is filmed over the course of several long naps.
Right. No, honestly, here's why I think this happened in person. Somebody that's having those kind of mental issues, you need to give them a person to talk to. We've seen what happens when Joe Biden tries to address it. He still seems to be able to deal with people one-on-one a little better than he deals with more abstract situations.
But if he doesn't have somebody to focus on, he can't walk upstairs.
Yes. Yeah, I'm only half joking. I'm also serious.
Actually, it might be interesting to review footage and see if we can find Joe Biden walking up or down a flight of stairs alone after the infamous Air Force One flubble.
Yes.
So
it's Woke Wednesday, and look. Normally we would talk about something like, let's have his joke first. Let's do that.
Okay. Let's have the joke first. So this is and isn't a separate segment. So
But
Tim, because of the 60 Minutes interview, Tim Allen is trending with 14.2 thousand tweets and responses. Because he made this joke. Biden was on 60 Minutes. I heard he asked how long the show was. It's not cute. It's not, but it's not super edgy. It's not.
And if you know anything about Tim Allen's stand-up, like that is milk toast.
Yes. And oh yeah. If you ever seen anything Tim Allen's done other than Toy Story and
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. I was going to say Tool Time, but yeah, Home Improvement. This man is not afraid of the fuck word.
No,
and he is hilarious.
He's got an entire segment where he talks about how men can communicate entirely in burps.
What was that movie? What was that movie that was? It was like a comedy of errors surrounding his involvement with a terrorist organization and the bizarre mishandling of a nuclear weapon that wasn't acquired.
I never saw it. I know the movie you're talking about, but no, I still.
It's one of my. It's actually one of my favorite movies, and I can't remember the name of. Big Trouble. No. Yes, it was Big Trouble. It was just Big Trouble. There's Big Trouble in Little China, and then my other favorite movie, Big Trouble. And then my other favorite movie is Benny and June. For no other reason. So, the man's trending for, like we said, it's a milquetoast joke. Fair play, Ma. Fair play. Last Man Standing
is not
was
bad.
A little more family friendly.
Galaxy Quest was excellent.
Yes. Pit Daddy says Galaxy Quest best movie ever.
And that was originally supposed to be rated R.
It's a pity it wasn't.
Like,
well, it is and it isn't. There are some things that could have gone. It was a great film. I mean, it's up there with Princess Bride, easily.
Right.
And that's saying a hell of a lot.
So Woke Wednesday, we would talk about the Woman King. Dude, are you tracking on the Woman King? Are you tracking on the fact that Hollywood made a movie about the African slave trade, and because my women are so powerful, like it stars Viola fucking Davis, okay? And they just changed one little tiny thing. The Woman King supposedly ended the slave trade.
Okay. I just got massively distracted. We might just have to do another show.
Right? Okay. Yeah, but don't we're almost there.
Okay, we're so Woman King. Yes. Alex, I see your comment. I just clipped the article that relates to that, and I might just have to look into that a little more, like real quick. So the Woman King. Yeah, the lefties are blowing up over it because on the one hand, my female empowerment, she's
my
strong.
Black female empowerment.
My black female empowerment.
My actual
strong,
African black female.
Strong woman. We was quangs.
Knows better than those men.
But on the other side, this film is loosely based on a true story about a tribe that was led by a female war chief who headed up the slave trade.
Like, how offensive is it that Hollywood, in spirit at least, whitewashed? Do I even need to finish that sentence? Like, God.
I think you need to be corrected. Clearly, they've blackwashed the slave trade.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of...
Does it remind you of when they pretended like
I'll
all
tell
the
you what it
slaves
reminds
weren't
me.
white?
No, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It makes me uncomfortable in the same way Black Panther makes me uncomfortable when M'Baku chimps out on the CIA agent.
Yes.
I'm like I watched that and I'm like, you guys filmed this on purpose? Because let me just say, if a white dude
literally starts going,
and I get it, like he's the great white ape, which in and of itself is okay, whatever you say, pal. You know, but
Danny, we're
getting there. I promise.
We're getting there.
This is the setup.
We're gonna be here a minute. but
I refuse to go see the movie. I don't want to pay. I've already got
right. I don't care about. I don't care to see the film. But part of the claim they're making is that she freed the slaves.
There's still
That's false.
Yeah, there's still a North African slave trade, guys. Did you know?
The thing about it doesn't matter which tribe she led. The tribes that headed the slave trade never stopped trading. They just got real quiet about it until we elected a black man to office in the United States. That's right. While Barack Obama was in office, as a direct result of his policies dealing with the Middle East, the North African slave trade reopened open-air human slave trading markets.
Yeah, as awful as Gaddafi was, he was enough of a strong man to force the slave trade to stay at least presumably underground. Like, it's... Y'all.
Striker. Tom Lemon gets owned by anything with money or testicles.
Yes.
So, okay.
Crack shot. We're getting there as well because it's Woke Wednesday. And we talk about the woke stuff a lot. And the left will tell you that in order to be woke, if this is not the one you want, the clip in question is also on.
This is absolutely the one.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about the woke stuff a lot because one of the things that bothers us about the woke is they'll claim that woke means they're awake, they're educated, they're thinking, they're considering all perspectives and blah, blah, blah. And it's actually like Chris and I that are the bigots and we're locked in our, we've internalized the patriarchy and all this other bullshit nonsense that they want to hit you with that, if we would teach our kids critical race theory, they'd understand that, they're terrible for whatever reasons. And we hate that because the term woke in and of itself is just a lie, because you have to ignore, if you're really going to consider all perspectives, I'm actually good with that, but you actually have to consider all perspectives, and you've got to take the good with the bad, okay? And taking the good with the bad, yeah, there was a system of white supremacy that had black people in slavery in this country, but the first slave owner in this country was black, and slaves were purchased from people that were black. Like, okay, fine, let's take the good with the bad.
And there were white slaves.
So anyhow, Don Lemon's getting demoted.
Yeah.
In a related story, he'll tell you he's getting promoted, but he's going to get demoted. Let's,
I'm going to pause this video more often than I would like to, but for particular reasons, and we're going to do it.
And then you have those who are asking for reparations for colonialism, and they're wondering, $100 billion, $24 billion here and there, $500 million there. Some people want to be paid back, and members of the public are wondering, why are we suffering when you are, you have all of this vast wealth? Those are legitimate concerns.
Okay.
First of all, they're not, you communist shit.
Correct. These are not legitimate concerns. This is something we discuss often and probably not often enough. At the core, at its root, the basis of leftism is very simple. Very simple. I want gimme. They firmly believe, even though they cannot articulate it intelligently, that it is morally preferable to take by force without earning. They prefer conquest for the purpose of resource acquisition.
They've been taught their entire life that they're victims, and what do victims do? Fight back. Like, what's the thing?
Right. Victims fight back all the time. That's why they're supposed to. Victims.
Well, they're supposed to. It used to be up until about 25 years ago that bully prescription was turn around and punch the bully in the nose. Even if the bully wins the fight, most bullies are not looking for people that are willing to resist.
Right.
Used to be. Used to be.
Instead, the new prescription is you should bully people that you think are bullies. And that became very quickly. It's time to select people and designate them as bullies so that you can bully them without repercussions. That's the basic tenet of wokeism, quite separately from what I was just talking about with the basic core of leftism.
Oh, Scrimshaw says she'd rather listen to Biden than Lemon. Look, stick with us, okay? If you haven't seen this video yet,
this
is glorious.
There's a reason.
Well, I think you're right about reparations in terms of if people want it, though, what they need to do is you always need to go back to the beginning of a supply chain. Where was the beginning of the supply chain? That was in Africa. And when across the entire world, when the slavery was taking place, which was the first nation in the world that abolished slavery? The first nation in the world to abolish it. It was started by William Wilberforce, was the British. In Great Britain, they...
Yeah,
he looks 12 years older than he did at the beginning of this conversation.
Like, you see his eyes cut down, and ever so slightly that jaw clenches, and then he nods to cover it up because he's thinking, God damn it, God damn it, God damn it, God damn it. Like, that's what that was. And let's be clear, all right?
Damn it, white woman, you're not supposed to know things.
And that is a distinction that Britain has, okay? Britain ended the slave trade without a civil war or anything of the kind. They're the only country. And you gonna talk about really offensive. You know how they did it? You know what the compromise was? The British government paid off the slave owners. They compensated them for the loss of their property. Yikes on all the fucking bikes, my friend. But it's true.
Sounds pretty reasonable. But
it's true. They got rid of slavery. Okay, and it only gets better. Can I push the button? It only
yeah, go ahead.
They abolished slavery. 2,000 naval men died on the high seas trying to stop slavery. Why? Because the African kings were rounding up their own people. They had them on cages waiting in the beaches. No one was running into Africa to get them. And I think you're totally right. If reparations need to be paid, we need to go right back to the beginning of that supply chain and say who was rounding up their own people and having them handcuffed in cages.
And look, I wanted to watch the one on my timeline because he ends with, well, that's an interesting discussion. Like, he clearly just like
he just gives up.
I mean, so, like a Top Gun engine in a jet wash, he just ejects, buddy. He's like,
and okay, so for this one, I actually had to go to Michael Knowles and find Michael Knowles commenting on this video that I want to comment on, and his commentary on this is pretty solid too. But this is his commentary just on this one, so there's a link to Knowles' video. But oh dear, what just happened? Keep talking. Here, I'll play this. This basically, the point is that this is not the first time that Don Lemon has been absolutely owned on the question of reparations.
I'm a little wary of the idea that we should think of that as a microcosm for what should happen for Black America, not because I'm against reparations, but because reparations for Black America already happened. Starting in the late 60s. Affirmative action was reparations. People didn't use that word, but that's precisely what it was. The Community Reinvestment Act of 1977 that forced banks to invest in inner cities. Nobody makes a movie about that, but that was reparations. If affirmative action didn't help to turn Black America upside down, then why do we fight red tooth, claw, and nail whenever anybody threatens it? It created a huge Black middle class, and it created Black success of all kinds that wouldn't have happened without it. I think affirmative action was a great thing, but I do think that it was a reparation.
I love this argument. I love the angle.
That, you know what he has in common with the British woman, okay? It's a thing that, it's a rhetorical trick, and it's also intellectually very clever to go ahead and lean into their argument. I said this when we were doing our show prep, and we even talked about it yesterday with Ron DeSantis. Trump was super clever with the Paris Climate Accord when he pulled out and said, climate change is totally a problem. Just bring me a deal that doesn't screw over the U.S.
Right.
right? So he leaned right into the climate change argument. Oh, yeah, sure. I don't want the planet to fry. Just, bring me a plan that saves the planet and doesn't screw my country over in the process. And what both of them did is both of them were like, oh, yeah, man, reparations are a great idea. Let's talk about what real reparations actually look like.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Whoa. No. I only want reparations inside this tiny little box.
So I may have I know I've told you this story before. I don't know if I've told it on the show before. I was at the VA probably last summer for something, and I was standing outside waiting, out by the smoke pit. And there was a large gathering, well, a dozen or so people, all black. And there was this one black guy who was clearly inebriated, probably homeless, and just running off at the mouth. And everybody else was clearly annoyed by this guy. And he starts just like pontificating aloud about reparations. And his position was, they said I was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And I don't even want that. All 40 acres, all that. I don't want to cut all that damn grass. And I couldn't help myself. I just slapped him on the back and said, brother, that's what the mule's for. And of course, everybody else just busted up laughing, and he turned red, which surprised me intensely, and left. I got several hugs because the bum left.
I hope you washed your hands. Scabies are a real thing.
I did.
Like they're a really real thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was there at the VA, and it was before Biden declared the end of the pandemic, so there was hand sanitizer and.
Oh, we didn't even get to that in the Biden interview.
Oh yeah, we didn't even.
The pandemic's over.
Okay.
But we're not going to go backwards.
We're not going to go backwards. I want to cover one more thing. We're not going to cover it.
Oh, we're so late.
We are. And I'm good for another 10 minutes, maybe. But I do want to talk about this, and I really want you to cut this for a segment. We're taking the article on this one from the Post Millennial. We're going to talk about the Canadian biologically male teacher who wears massive prosthetic breasts to school. And I've got it queued up this way intentionally. If there's a chance that you have not had your poor eyeballs assaulted by this just grotesque image, then I want to break it to you slowly. This dude with these tits. Just look at it for a minute. I'm sorry. I really am. And I'm going to go it away now. And here's the point.
Pit Danny asks, what doctor would do that? Bro, you don't understand.
Those are they're dummies. They're prosthetics. That's not a procedure. He didn't have the top surgery. He's just wearing fake tits that hang around his shoulders. And there's some video of the guy moving around. He's not a big fat guy, right? This guy is not much heavier than Cameron, maybe. A little bit. He's a little, there's a little bit of baby fat around his face, but he's not a big fat guy. He's just wearing these freaking colossal triple Z falsies. But I'm gonna pull the image up one more time, and I want you to pay attention to this. The giant, intentionally additional, totally unnecessary, gigantic, fake hard rubber nipples.
Rather not. I'd really rather not.
This is going out of his way to be intentionally obnoxious and provocative. This isn't just your garden variety mental illness, gender confusion. This is going out of your way to be intentionally obnoxious. When I first heard about this story and saw these images, My first assumption was actually that this was a conservative trolling about.
I thought it was like a Babylon Bee thing. Then it was like, no. Actually, it turns out. Oh, and then it happened in Canada? No, the story's too perfect.
Right. It happened in Canada.
And then here's the other thing. Apparently, the school is on the side of the teacher?
The school board is on the side of the teacher. The kids, the kids here are definitely don't think it's normal. But realistically, we can't say anything. Last year, the teacher was a man, and I don't think the school can fire him. Right? In a video which would likely make any health and safety expert wince, the teacher can be seen demonstrating to the class of high school students how to use a circular saw with the long wig dangling down near the table, right? And the big falsies. Now, Crowder and the gang did a gag about this, where while they were talking about this clip, everybody in the studio is wearing big fake tits, and it's clearly impeding their ability to do any of their jobs, right?
Yeah. Okay. This is what's coming. All right. No more with the slippery slope and all that. We talked before about how a lot of the logical fallacies are logical fallacies because of the way people use them to support weak arguments. Like an appeal to authority is not really a logical fallacy. Like if you go to a physicist and ask a question about particle theory, well, you want the physicist's opinion on it. That's
right.
So the slippery slope, if you, fact that
for your whole life they've been trying to teach you that the slippery slope argument is as much a fallacy as the undistributed middle. It just the cat has 4 legs and hair, therefore it is a dog. Right, that's the fallacy of the undistributed middle, and that is always a fallacy.
And look, and Scrimshaw Rose points out she got her hair ripped out in a lath for not tying it back. Yes, if you've ever been through any kind of OSHA training or any of that stuff, like
you've never had an industrial accident.
Look, there's a reason why you have to get recertified in like lockout, tagout procedures, and why they don't want you wearing watches or rings or anything like that. Because if you don't think that you can have a finger ripped out by the knuckle before you even feel the pain, you are incorrect. You don't understand how these machines work. It's not just that this is perverted and gross and just all the terrible things. This guy is a bad shop teacher because when you're operating like a circular saw, what would have made my day for a strand of that wig to get sucked up in that blade and ripped right off his head? Because that here's the thing that can happen in the real world when you don't follow basic safety procedures. Some of them are obnoxious and aggravating, but like all of that stuff about
you can follow all the basic safety procedures in some of these environments. And that's not sufficient. I was walking through International Paper with Steve Rodemeyer, where they're doing the shutdown and rebuild, and there was a puddle on the ground that I didn't notice as we were walking, and I stepped in it. It was a puddle of white liquor. My foot went in with a sole on my boot, and my foot came out without a sole on my boot, and I had to go buy new boots.
Yeah, I mean,
it was that fast.
Yeah, and your dad says if you put a kitten in the oven, that doesn't make it a biscuit. I like his version better. That's darker than yours. It's fantastic. But look, it's not just all and this goes back to, like, to be woke, you have to ignore facts. And the facts is, okay, fine, if you're going to have a woman doing this kind of work, she needs to ace bandage them some bitches and wear a ponytail. Like, it's just a fact, okay? I had an uncle that almost lost all the fingers on his left hand from what he described as an accident that lasted about 1/8 of a second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he was in a cast and stitches for like 6 weeks. He's like, I'm just glad I still have my fingers.
Yep. So, and I'm gonna
Subfax will slap you in the face, kind of like giant fake tits.
Yeah. Oakville Trafalgar High School is part of the Halton District School Board. The board has a policy on gender identity and gender expression in place. The HDSB is committed to establishing and maintaining a safe, caring, inclusive, equitable, and welcoming learning and working environment for all members of the school safety community, including students, staff, parents, guardians, and community members who identify as or are perceived as two-spirit, queer, trans, non-binary, intersex, and those who are questioning their sexual orientation and or gender identities, reads the policy, and for that reason, this teacher will not be fired. Oh, but wait a minute. The board also has a dress code for students. Dress codes must prevent students from wearing clothing or accessories that display sexism, vulgarity, and pornography, says the code. Dress codes must prevent students from wearing clothing that exposes or makes visible genitals and nipples.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You shouldn't have to give adults a dress code.
Alex says, I think the guy is purely ridiculous, but you don't write policy based on what may happen. The fact is no accident occurred. No, you do write policy when you're talking about safety policy.
Yeah,
you do write safety policy on what may happen.
Yeah, in a blue collar work environment, like your safety policy revolves entirely around what may happen.
Absolutely. You work with what's called a CRM, a composite risk management, where you sit down with a piece of paper and you say, okay, what are the things that might happen?
No, what are the things that have happened before?
Well, you start with what are the things that have happened before. And all those things that have happened before are also things that may happen. Right? And so you write your policy based on that. And Alex retorts, okay, so guns may kill people. Yes, guns may kill people.
That's not the same.
It's still a crime to murder someone. But a gun cannot do the killing. A person has to use the gun to do the killing. That's why we have a law against murder and a constitutional right to keep and bear arms.
Look, and Alex, I think you're misconstruing two things together. You're conflating two things together here. I promise, in any factory environment, any blue collar environment, anything where you're working with hazardous chemicals, heavy machinery, anything like that, their entire safety policy is going to be based around what might happen. That is absolutely how it works. They keep their liability insurance from eating up all their profits by literally overdoing it on the safety. And sometimes even then, it's just not enough. You've always got the one dumbass that is still going to mix ammonia and bleach together, even though you told him fucking not to. Okay? But the thing is, and I wanted to go back to this just to really punch it in and maybe end on it. Again, with adults, you shouldn't have to have a dress code.
Right.
A mature adult does not need to be told, maybe don't have your nipples poke out all day.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it back to the nipples, because I do want to end on that. Forgetting for just a moment, for the sake of argument, the ridiculousness of the whole gender politics question. The fact is, this guy is going out of his way to not just have unhealthy. If I've seen women who've grown breasts like this, they're unhealthy. Those women are unhealthy. They have back problems, among other things, and are recommended by their doctors to have reductions for the sake of their musculoskeletal survival. Right? But he's gone out of his way to add on the extraordinary cartoonish caricatures of nipples at the end of these wheelbarrow titties. because he intends to offend. He has taken special steps to guarantee that his sexualization in front of minors is explicitly sexual and offensive. This is not a good faith actor. This is not someone who has a legitimate mental condition. This is a person
he's got a legitimate mental condition.
Okay, he doesn't have this one. He's a psychopath who seeks to cause harm to children. Now, I'm good to close on that.
Yeah, we're
largely because I'm supposed to be in Decatur in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we are way over.
So thanks for watching this morning. We love you guys. Be safe out there, and we will see you tomorrow.